Most are afraid of unknown depths, skirting shores thinking world flat. And with the island girls in celebration of new religion. Nobody led me or said this way. I sailed alone on makeshift raft with wind as companion. Fate for deliverance, confidence enough to assess new disposition. Seekers of lost paradise may seem fools to those who never sought the other world. Welcome to Zen with Zen Garcia. Visit www.fallenangels.tv. You're listening to Revolution Radio.
Hello and welcome, friends and listeners, readers and viewers. We appreciate your patronage again this evening as we fellowship and introspect into all things esoteric. Tonight we will be continuing our end of the month examination of prophecy in the news, and I'm joined by my son, Justin Garcia. Justin, are you there, son?
Yes, I am. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. It was quite sweltering outside, but it's it's been a beautiful year. There's a lot of rain, and it hasn't been overly hot. I know that in the middle country, the middle states, there seems to be a heat wave, and so I feel for those people. But it's been a really blessed year for the plants and just watching things grow. And how about you? How's the garden and the crops and all?
Everything is going great. At the beginning of the year, it feels like summer just got here, right? It's pretty weird timing, but for the past couple months, we had a large Japanese beetle population come over, and they ate up a lot, but we just kind of let things be, and they disappeared. So we actually have a really bountiful harvest. Hallelujah. And we got some tomatoes that are turning red. We have beans, like every few days we're able to harvest from our beans. We just picked some eggplant and everything's looking beautiful. Of course, we have fresh basil and the peaches on our tree are starting to ripen. It's so beautiful and definitely such a blessing. But speaking of the weather and the rain, yesterday we had a lightning storm and we had lightning strike like really, really close a few times. And since then, I don't know if the Ethernet cable got shocked on my computer, but I'm having to connect through Wi-Fi now on my computer. So I'm not sure if there's going to be any lagging. Prayerfully, there will not be. But yeah, I'm looking forward to the show tonight.
Yeah, as am I. And always a lot going on, and seems like, things are progressing quickly as far as the New World Order and the agenda behind it. But certainly I know we'll talk about those things, and I'm sure you have some articles lined up to share commentary on. So I'll go ahead and turn it over to you and follow your lead.
Right on. Yeah, I definitely have plenty to talk about. And I did invite anyone who is joining in the YouTube live stream, if you have any articles you would like for us to discuss, any headlines that are, confirmable and not just hearsay or guesswork, we would love to discuss those. So please feel free to share those headlines in the chat. I will be monitoring in between talking and discussing with my dad, but as most of you are probably aware, we are about done with the next Enoch book, the Prophecy for Children, Enoch's Vision 2, the Divine Order of Creation, and I'm really excited. We got all the illustrations completed, and we actually just sent off all of the verbiage that's going on inside the book to the illustrator to have that added as well. And so it should only be a few more weeks and that book is going to be available. But to start off the stream, I kind of just wanted to read through it real quick and read through. Yeah, it's a short book, but it's so important and so beautifully written, I feel. Would you mind if I went ahead and shared it here?
Oh, no, not at all. And just to really quickly comment on that as well, is that I think it's a great blessing because, it's focused on the book of Enoch, but introducing that to children. And he was most certainly one of the greatest prophets and one that was very important for sharing warning and in writing down, scripting testimony for us, that remote and distant generation. He said that he would be writing for. So I think it's a great blessing that the work that you're doing, it will give people an opportunity to introduce their children to the character of Enoch and bring forth the greater storyline of all that is contained in the book of Enoch, which is amazing content.
It really is, and it's been a lot of fun, basically making a Cliff Notes version, but it takes me a while to really sit down with the chapters, break it up into sections, basically. Book 1 was all about Enoch chapter 1, which is a vision that Enoch was given about the future judgment and the preservation of the elect. And that was a beautiful book to be able to write and to present to the children, the importance of the fact that there is a future judgment, that we have a responsibility on the earth, but also that we have salvation, that we have protection in the Creator. So, that is so important. Children, I feel like in my generation, just feel like they have total autonomy. They can do whatever they want with no repercussions. We're all going to die in the end, so what does it matter? Something like that. But here, we get the concept of eternal life, of judgment, and of the promise of salvation. So I think that that's beautiful. But this book, the second part, the divine order of creation, goes into Enoch chapters 2 through 5, in which Enoch is actually shown the divine order of creation, and he's told to observe all the things under the heavens, the sun, the moon, the stars, the earth, the water, and everything, the seasons, and how everything obeys the command of the Creator, but how mankind has forgotten the command of the Creator. And then again, it's emphasized that there will be a judgment on the wicked and those who have forgotten that command and the path that the Most High desires for us to take, and that there would be protection for the elect. So it's a really beautiful text, the book of Enoch, and I really have had so much fun sitting down and making it into a children's series. So I'll go ahead and start. And let me see. I'm actually going to, give me 1 second. I'm going to throw up the images on the screen for everybody who is joining on the YouTube live stream. So this should be pretty exciting. Just give me 1 minute to add the files. We just got those finished, and I'm so excited. So it doesn't have the text on it yet, but we should be able to read it, and then you'll get an idea. So, sorry, the image is gigantic. The book is 11 by 8.5, so the pictures I gotta minimize here a little bit. But yeah, it is a wider than it is tall book. So here we have one of the pictures. All right, I gotta go in and change a little bit of the settings real quick, but give us your thoughts on the book of Enoch real quick while I get this fixed.
Yeah, sure. For those that have not examined my work or know about the work that I've done, I did write several years back, 2015, a book called Flat Earth as Key to Decrypt the Book of Enoch. And it was in coming to biblical cosmology that I returned to examine chapters 70 through 84 in the book of Enoch, which did not make sense to me prior. And I had read them several times and was familiar with the entirety of the book of Enoch. But those chapters on the courses of the heavenly luminaries did not make sense to me until I was able to apply them to having the motion that we see in the star trails of the movement of the stars over the course of an evening, and how the sun and the moon are included along with the 5 planets, Mercury, Mars, Venus, Saturn, and Jupiter, in moving in a circle around Polaris. And when I realized that they were moving actually above the face of the Earth, and that the Earth was still and motionless, I was able to decrypt all of that. And then also Rob Skiba, we did an entire series of, I don't even know how many hours and how many shows, but we went through the entirety of the book of Enoch and explained chapter by chapter and verse by verse, and also bringing forth in parallel account many of the other manuscripts that cover and speak about the fallen angels and the giants and everything else that is included in the book of Enoch. So I do recommend people check it out. And one last thing is that the book of Enoch is messianic and absolutely prophetic, and was written for the fig tree generation, the last generation, and those that would be alive during what would be, as it says in Revelation, the fulfillment of all things. That when the blooming of the fig tree occurs, all things in Scripture would be fulfilled. And I do believe that we are part of that generation, that the Most High is pouring out His Spirit upon all flesh, and people are dreaming and receiving vision, and discernment is coming forth in great leaps and bounds.
Absolutely. Yep, so I do have it up on the screen, and I got the slideshow fixed, so everyone that is joining on the YouTube live stream, you can see the images on the screen, and I will take you through. It's only 9 pages. Of course, these fold in half, so it's 18 total pages. Someone did ask in the live chat, can we pre-order this book? The pre-order is not available yet, but as Joy suggested in the live stream chat, you can sign up for our newsletter, and we will be sending out our newsletter, our monthly newsletter, on next Monday, and that should have a link to the pre-order link. And we also have a good book from Brother Noah Hadley coming out as well. So exciting times, but I'm going to go ahead and start with this reading so we can get into the actual meat of the show. So this is page 1, and it starts with Elia, the little boy, says to Enoch, "What an amazing vision of the final judgment you had, Enoch. But I really want to know, how can I be sure that I will be saved?" And Enoch replies, "You're wise to ask, Elia. Let me show you the divine order of creation, how heaven and earth follows the command of the Creator. Then you will know." Then we got page 2. The sun rises every morning, it crosses the earth, and then sets every evening. So you can see in the picture we have on the left the sunrise, then we have the noontime in the middle, and on the right we have the nighttime. And then the next page, 3. Like the sun, the moon rises and sets once per day. It also waxes and wanes every month, growing to full light before dimming to darkness. The stars travel across the sky too. They obey the path they were given, just like the sun and moon. And page 4. Every year the winter comes and the animals hibernate. The trees lose their leaves and go dormant, awaiting the warmth of the sun to return. Page 5. In summer, the trees grow their leaves and make fruits for us to eat. The sun's heat gets so warm that animals seek shade under the trees. Page 6. The water of earth also follows an amazing cycle that the Creator designed. The rivers flow to the lakes and seas. Then they heat up from the sun and evaporate, becoming clouds which replenish the dry lands with water in the form of rain. Page 7. Creation is sustained by following the divine order given by the Creator. So we also must follow the path the Creator made for us. Page 8. Uh-oh, page 8 didn't load. Let me get that one loaded real quick. What do you think about it so far, Dan?
Oh, I love it. And I think that, the artwork is amazing. And I love that, it's going to be a continued and ongoing series, and that it's going to highlight the book of Enoch, which I believe everybody should know about and study. And the fact that this is going to give parents an opportunity to introduce their children again to the character of Enoch and also to the book of Enoch itself. I think it's just amazing, and the potential for making children aware, of judgment and of the order of creation, and how the Most High rules all things, and also the Messianic, the Son of Man. All that is just incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is the second to last page, and Elias says, "What path are we supposed to take, Enoch?" And as you can see, the picture shows that there are two paths: a narrow path that leads to a beautiful land, and a wide path that leads to darkness. But of course, Enoch says on the last page, the path we've been called to follow is the one of true love. We must love the Creator with all our heart and mind and strength, and we must love our neighbors like we love ourselves. This is the path to eternal peace and everlasting joy.
Awesome.
What a beautiful message to be able to share with the children.
Yes.
Love is the most important command.
No doubt.
Yep. So that's it. I am going to also introduce a giveaway. So the first person that's able to decipher this text that I'm about to put up on the screen that comes from book 1, the first person that's able to decipher this text that's in Paleo Hebrew, I'm going to be giving a free copy of the new book too. Actually, the first copy, and it will be signed. So if you can translate this, you can either write it in the YouTube live chat or you can email me at sacredwordpublishing.com. Whoever responds first, I will get a copy of the next book too. So if you can decipher that, that will be awesome. It is in Paleo Hebrew. I had to download a Paleo Hebrew keyboard and decipher it and type it out myself. But it is, it's a beautiful passage. So if you can check that out, let me know. And yep. So awesome. We'll move on to the actual show for tonight. So yeah. All right. So yeah. Thank you everybody for joining in the YouTube live stream. Everybody that's joining here in Revolution Radio, it's awesome to see you all and have this opportunity to share with you all. And I'm sure that most of you are aware of the secret things that are taking place in high places, and you're aware of the wickedness that rules in the powers of the governments of this world, of civilization. But right now, our government is still what I would say mixed. Even when I was in the military, there were a ton of really strong thinkers, independent individuals and conservatives, Christians, and people who really kind of thought for themselves. I wouldn't say that it was a majority, but there were still people that were awakened, I believe, there, that worked for the government and for government agencies. But, if you were the enemy, how would you transition a government that's diversified with independent and strong thinkers? It's pretty easy. You would mandate something that independent and strong thinkers would not agree with, and then threaten to fire and expel those who would not submit to that mandate. All right, and this is the fork in the road that we're at now. And only the well indoctrinated, submitted to propaganda workers are going to be filling government roles soon enough, as more and more individuals are losing their careers over what the Department of Justice this week called a legal mandate, which requires workers to become guinea pigs. So I'm not going to say the V word. I'm not going to claim to be a medical practitioner, a health advisor, nothing like that. Just giving you my insights and my studies. So, please pray that we don't get shut down. But yeah, I'll continue. We did talk a few months ago about the updated Security Clearance Act of 2021, which bars anyone who is associated with the Capitol riots or the MAGA campaign from acquiring a security clearance. And, the security clearance is required to work in most government positions. And, not only that, but they have the right now to label individuals as conspiracy theorists. And if you are labeled that, then you're also barred from getting a security clearance. So, if you question the authenticity of the vote that happened earlier this year, you cannot excel through the government ranks. If you don't submit yourself as a guinea pig, which I'm sure you know what I'm talking about, you can't acquire a position of power to affect change in the government. And if you want to maintain your position of faith in the Creator to heal you and your family, you're slowly being herded into the camp of the quote-unquote others. The ones who refuse to become civilized. Another term for people like this in the past was barbarians. They didn't submit and learn the Greek language and submit to the empire. And what have we seen done repeatedly through history, and even in the current time, to those who refuse to accept the rule of Babylon over their life and their land and their liberty? Those people are exterminated. They're rounded up and put in prison camps or on Indian reserves. Their histories are erased. Their languages are forgotten. The remnant that's left of them are orphans to civilization. And, there are some that climb through the ranks of business and government, and they become shining star example civilized, to get a degree, to work for a powerful company, to be submitted and working for the empire. But they forget what that empire did to their ancestors. If you don't feel the grip of Babylon ceasing control over the world and over your life, you might have gotten comfortable wearing the chains that they put on us. I apologize if there's any lag on the live stream. Please let me know. I know I keep getting intermittent notifications that the data that I'm sending is not enough to maintain a smooth stream. I truly apologize for that. Please let me know if that is the case. Yeah, I just got a little bit more to say, and then I'll pass it over to you, Dad. So, sure. Yeah, if you don't feel the grip of Babylon ceasing control over the world, you really probably have gotten comfortable in those chains. So, for us, every day we have to remember that our affiliation, our service is to the kingdom of the Creator, the ruler of heaven and earth, the Most High, Yahuwah. Hallelujah. And the kingdoms of this earth have been given for a time to a crafty enemy, to deceptions and discriminations and persecutions, and all of that will continue for a short time. But let's not think that we're any better than the apostles and the prophets who suffered for their faith, right? Like, it's not our goal to excel through the ranks and become, fully, wealthy or independent. And it's not our job to be rich and famous and comfortable. We should also prepare to be like the apostles and prophets. So, let's put on the full armor of God, the spiritual armor, which protects us from the enemy's attempts to ruin our faith. because that's what he's really coming after, especially with Western comfort. He's coming after your faith. And most of all, let's encourage one another with love and seek to share kindly the gaps of logic in the enemy's plan of world domination. The people who are seeking will have opened their eyes a little bit, and you can be used to encourage their walk. But let's lead in kindness and in love. Let's lead them to the fountain of living water, and the living water will do the rest of the job. As we see in 1 John 2:27, it's the Holy Spirit that teaches us all things. We don't have any need for a man to teach us. You humble yourself in prayer and encourage others to do the same, and that's where we find that source of living water. The Holy Spirit isn't, you don't drink from another person's prayers. You drink in your own prayers, in your own time with the Most High. So, we don't have to be forceful or mad if people don't understand or don't want to agree with us on cosmology, or if they disagree with our understanding of certain passages in the Bible. Let's not be debaters, as we were told in the end times that there would be lovers of debate. We are people that are standing firm together on the rock of salvation, which is the testimony of our Savior. So that's the community that we pray to garner here. And I appreciate everybody joining again. I'll go ahead and pass it over to you, Dad.
Yeah, I've got something that I wanted to share as well. Let me article to where we can be flagged for
disconnected for a second,
just bringing too much truth forward.
Can you hear me?
It says damning evidence hidden in plain sight. The left's power play towards tyranny and Nuremberg level crimes against humanity were planned out long ago to usher in a new world order. Everything happening now pushes forward the UN agendas 21 and 2030. And for those that don't know about Agenda 21, you should definitely check it out, because we are going through a play-by-play. This is written by William Dunn. It's on the All News Pipeline. It says, as Event 201 held in October 2019, and the SPARS pandemic document published in 2017 laid out in detail, long before the arrival of COVID, this scamdemic was well planned in advance. This entire pandemic, referred to by its proper name, the eugenicist depopulation program, is an obvious attempt to those who've been paying attention to cull the world's population and to install a new world order. And I would remind people that in the End Time Mysteries Revealed conference that we had, I think it was last year, maybe the year before. It was last year, yeah. And we highlighted the Georgia Guidestones, which, if you check it, the Guidestones out, they were put up and are still funded by the Rosicrucians, which is an order of the mystery schools that are connected to the New World Order and to those that believe they are, the Freemasonic chosen ones, the globalists who believe they know different and better to run and control and to guide the fate of humanity. And their number one agenda is to reduce population to a manageable size and to create a servant class. And so that also fits in with this. And so, again, hidden in plain sight, something people should come to know about. With the globalist depopulation program, all hidden in plain sight, you can see the Event 201 document at the very bottom of the story, while that document in itself is damning, the signs this thing was planned out long ago surround us and are largely hidden in plain sight. One thing is certain, this scamdemic is not a natural occurring pandemic derived from a wet market bat in China. Dr. Fauci's gain of function work has laid this assumption to rest, and seemingly the only issue regarding this is that he got caught. This incident should be a lesson to everyone that we have been locked away for a year and a half, and the economy destroyed, and many lives further destroyed, including suicides that are way up over what is proven to be based on lies. I'll just read one more paragraph and then I'm just going to post a link so that people can go find and read it for yourself. You know, we are limited in what we are able to say and bring forth just because we don't want to jeopardize this platform, and to be able to reach out and to share discernment, and also to help those of you that are awakening and coming to understand as far as the inner workings of the matrix, and that you are unplugging yourself and seeking direction and truth. We want to be able to assist and to help those of you that are, finding yourself in that kind of situation, because the alternative truth movement and the platforms available to go to find truth are becoming limited and being squelched. And so we're trying to maintain outreach as much as possible and for as long as possible. So, with that being said, due to renewed censorship by big tech upon AMP articles, they're speaking about a donation, but again, in the same way, this particular platform has also been impinged in the manner that we have. And so all the other places, there's so many that have already been shut down, that have been knocked out and disappeared overnight. And so, I'm going to recommend that people check out this article, read it, and examine the other aspects of it, because it's very important and it will help you to better understand the times that we're in. Because things are screwed up, and seemingly the plan is to, make things a lot worse than what they are. And so we do also recommend that people put away, a little bit of food, water, emergency kits, medical supplies, your prescription pills, whatever you may need, just in case something were to happen and you weren't able to go out over a week, a month, or, in the same manner that they shut things down before. That could easily happen again. But they are already saying that, there's new variants, and that things are going to have to shut down once more. So be careful, be prepared. And also, Justin, can you share the link for the dehydrated food from the Patriot Network? And and I'll post this link in the chat room for those that would be interested in reading it, and we'll also put it in the description once the show is archived.
Yeah, I just shared that. Definitely encourage you, to prepare as well as you can, but also remember, no matter how much we prepare, I feel like it's only limited, right? Like, no matter how much food we can gather, it's only limited. So I know that we're told that there is hidden manna that will be provided, and that's what we need to seek truly. Not saying that you shouldn't
Yes,
have
yes,
food and
right.
water, but just saying that our faith, our relationship with the Most High is the most important part of our
Without a doubt.
lives.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely want to encourage everyone to take time every day to, if you're farming, I think that's probably one of the best, hunting and gathering. That basic skills, those are really important, especially if we're required to have a mark of the beast to interact with civilization eventually, which we're already seeing signs of it coming. Um, we're not going to be able to buy or sell anything, so having those
Right.
skills could be the only way that we're going to eat and
Yeah,
provide
true
for our
that.
families. And that's if we're not hunted down, or if all the land isn't you know destroyed, etc. But we did have a question earlier from Diane Ashdown. She said, I wonder if you are Christian scientists, do you get fired because of your religion? And that's a really good point that goes back to what I was talking about earlier, how the government is purging itself of anyone who aligns with free thinking or conservatism, um, by either denying them high level positions, security clearances, or by um, just not letting them have a job at all because they don't want to get jabbed. Um, but
Right.
yeah, the same thing is going on in the indoctrination centers. That if you don't believe something like evolution, then you're kind of looked down on as a scientist. So there are some private institutions where you can find some Christian scientists, and I think that that's probably where they're finding a safe haven. I definitely don't think there are many science teachers in public universities that aren't totally into scientism and totally into the priesthood of Stephen Hawking or Neil deGrasse Tyson, and like that. But yeah, really good question. I think I'll probably touch more on something about that later. Also had a warning in the chat to prepare for executions. So definitely we'll talk about that in a little while as well. It's some crazy things that are going on in the world, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Definitely.
All right. So. All right. So. Oh man, I guess I can go ahead and talk about it because this is totally, totally crazy. No, I'll just touch on something kind of simple before we get to our break. So we got about 18 minutes left. I don't want to get into this long rant because this next part that I have prepared is so crazy. Like the things that are going on, and I'm not sure everyone's aware of what's taking place with the world institutions right now and how much power they're consolidating. But we're literally like on the brink of the revealing of the Antichrist and the one world system. Um, Man, so many pieces have been put into place this past year and a half. It's just crazy. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, I'll just share something real quick. There was an article or a headline that came out about Dubai. They were saying that the weather was so hot that they are now artificially creating rainstorms. All right, this is something that we've
Whoa.
been called conspiracy theorists for a long time, right?
Right.
That there is weather manipulation.
Uh-huh.
But now it's mainstream news. Dubai is uh, using drones to release things into the atmosphere to create
Uh-huh.
clouds, and they even came out. The Scientific American came out and said that at least 8 states in the western U.S. are already using this concept. They didn't say they were doing the exact same thing, but they are cloud seeding. I mean, how many people have seen photos of, you know, what we call chemtrails, and then later on they kind of like disperse out and blanket the sky, and then they become clouds that rain down who knows what type of chemicals with the raindrops. But yeah, it's all weather manipulation. Isn't that crazy that they're coming
Right.
out and admitting these types of things? But as
Admitting
long as
it.
they admit
Yeah.
it in a good light, it's okay.
Right. Right. Yeah, and then, like, the just always the truth. This one day comes out and it's all normality, but they've been making fun of us and people laughing at us and talking about chemtrails and also their ability to not only to create storms and even hype them up, but also to dissipate them. Like the hurricanes, they could diminish them if they wanted to, but again, they're using tragedy and the opportunity of tragedy to install and bring forth the agenda of the New World Order as well. And so, yeah, it's just funny how truth continues to be um, confirmed as we move more further and further into the future.
Yeah, absolutely. Uh, it's like the article that came out, or the headlines that came out a few months ago, or maybe it was last year, that Bill Gates wants to spray the sky, to prevent global warming. That,
Right.
they're like, it's a great idea if we were to spray chemicals in the sky to reflect the sunlight and stop global warming. And how naive do we have to be to think that they're waiting for our permission to do things?
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if you are joining in the YouTube live stream, we really greatly appreciate it. If you have any articles or headlines you'd like us to talk about, we would love to see those. Anomalous said NWO is going to be a stillborn. Just watch. Interesting. I wouldn't call it a stillborn. I would say that it's going to die in its infancy when the Messiah returns and destroys it. But I definitely believe that the Babylonian system is going to come to power, and the enemy is going to sit on that throne, and he's going to have a mark, and he's going to cause all to receive that mark, and he's going to cause all to worship the image of the beast. And if they don't, they're going to be beheaded, and if they don't accept the mark of the beast, they're not going to be able to buy or sell, according to Revelation chapter 13. So Marie Brazier said, I'm ready to lose my head. Amen, sister. That's a great attitude. What is the head anyways? We're all just passengers in this bio vehicle.
Right.
It's not even really our head. It's just a clump of physical cells, but your spirit will live on. Hallelujah, because he has a purpose for you, and he is greater. He's created you greater than just the flesh. Somebody mentioned, Deborah W said Project Bluebeam. So interesting project. I believe that's with all the holographics and things like that, and they're gonna fake an alien invasion, or fake the return of the Messiah or something like that. Have you heard about that?
Oh yeah. In fact, Werner von Braun, in speaking about and talking to his assistant Carolyn Rosen, Dr. Carolyn Rosen, she affirmed that he shared with her privately and reiterated numerous times over and over throughout the years before his death that they were going to claim first that there would be, asteroids coming and the planet Nibiru, where the Anunnaki and all that is put forth in the Sumerian mythology, that all that was going to happen, and then they would state that there was going to be, an alien invasion, and then they would declare that the so-called aliens or extraterrestrials, that they are our gods and our creators. And he said to her, don't believe it because it's all a lie. And people can find on YouTube, if it hasn't already been purged, the interviews where she speaks about, and also the presentations that she makes where she affirms, exactly what I said. So don't believe me, even though, myself and Rob, we've been covering this, and especially with our work in biblical cosmology, that would be the end game. That is the agenda for bringing forth the strong delusion and establishing the Copernican heliocentric model, because it is the foundation for what is this ancient aliens deception that is being pushed forth even right now.
Yeah, a lot of people believe that the Mystery Babylon, the beast with 7 heads and 10 horns, and the 10 horns are 10 kings, and they believe one of the beasts of Revelation is actually fallen angels that come back with Satan in the end times, and that the world will be ruled by what the world is going to call extraterrestrials, right? But of course we know who they are. Deborah W. mentioned in the YouTube live chat HARP and DARPA, and the HARP reference reminded me, we were talking about the weather manipulation, right? And that article that I even shared, one that came from CVS, and it was written on July 23rd by Sophie Lewis. You can look it up on cbsnews.com. And they were talking about how exactly they did the cloud seeding. And, they would put, I believe it was salt in the atmosphere. I'm not sure what they used to aerosolize it. But they would put salt in the atmosphere, and then they would charge it. They would charge these particles in the air. So, and then people have been talking for the past decade about HARP, right? And all this technology of how they would send charges into the air, and how it would, impact events, impact weather, impact, I don't know, earthquakes or something like that. I have no idea. Not saying that it 100% does, but you're seeing that the technology that people used to say was being used is actually now publicly admitted to being used. So, really interesting things. Ilium Tell said they can't put the West Coast fires out with that too. No, they start fires instead. Yeah. So that's the dangerous thing, the weapon manipulation, regardless of who's using it, is, it doesn't seem like it's being used as a good thing in the secret, and secretively, of course, it's being weaponized, and publicly it's being, praised. So, yeah, really great points. Shay Cheney said the world is going to become a very dangerous place when there are food shortages and extensive electrical outages. I really feel like my generation is being groomed for that, lawless society, and selfishness even, that there are so many video games out that the younger generation is playing now, and they're all survival first-person shooter games, and it's there's there's limited supply. Everyone's on this one map, and then there's I don't know, there's limited supplies and guns, and the point is you have to kill everyone and take the supplies, and that's what my young cousins, that's a game that when they were 12 they were playing this game. They're just learning all right, in order for me to survive, I've got to take advantage of everyone else. I've got to kill them and take their goods and loot their house. And I'm always just wow, could that really happen? I mean, I suppose it could, I don't really know. But it definitely seems like there's some programming going on with all of these. I mean, it's not just one or two games. There's just tons of them. It's they're just copying each other and making it look cool, cooler and different graphics to appeal to different children, but it's all the same premise that, you kill, steal, and you loot.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think there's a larger agenda and an ulterior motive behind all of that because, again, industry is led by those that are in the know. And even, Hollywood and what they bring forth in programming and through the television, all that is like forecasting things that are occurring and will occur, just like the Orwellian 1984 and that particular series. And a lot of people don't even know that, H.G. Wells, not only did he write 1984, but he also wrote a book called The New World Order. And so, he was in the know, and he wrote 50 years back things that are occurring and taking place right now. And so, these are things that the elites have been preparing for. The protocols of the learned elders of Zion, all that is, a play-by-play.
Yeah, we're going to be reading from that next hour, just FYI.
Yeah. Okay, great. It's a play-by-play. And so if people wanted to know more, we did put together and shared what I think are very important documents, the Illuminati Secret Covenant, together with the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. We released that as the Illuminati Protocols and Secret Covenant. You can find it at sacredwordpublishing.com. But if you're not familiar with the Secret Covenant nor the protocols, very important that I believe if you want to know what's going on and to have discernment and to be able to protect and prepare yourself and your family members for those things that are coming, that one, familiarize yourself with these manuscripts. And so do check them out if you can.
Yeah, definitely. And we will be discussing that pretty thoroughly in the next hour as we read a report that came out from the latest G20 summit. So I'm going to be reading their report side by side with some of the excerpts from the Protocols of the Learned Elders of Zion. And I think that is going to blow some people's minds. I'm sure that everyone that's listening is probably already very familiar with all of those game plans and the large game of chess that's being played. And of course, everyone in the game is a puppet tied to the god of this world, who we know is the enemy. But yeah, I wanted to just point out Paladin 1 said that they're telling us that the chemtrails or the cloud seeding is contrails. And I think that is so funny. It's just hilarious that they think, the only air traffic in the air that's leaving contrails, they're running at 90-degree angles to each other, and they're running parallel paths. You always just see like boxes drawn in the sky, and right angles.
Labyrinth. Yes.
You don't see like random paths. I mean, I was in the military for 6 years as an aircraft mechanic, and we didn't leave contrails like that ever. Never. Well, not my planes at least. And I watched planes fly every day that I was working for 6 years on the flight line, coming in, and they never left contrails that didn't dissipate within, 10, 15 seconds after the plane left that particular airspace. These are definitely not what you would call contrails. One person, John Sparks, mentioned aluminum and barium. Thank you for sharing that. Yes, those are things that have been tested in some of these clouds that have descended down. While there are so many people in the chat, I really appreciate you, everybody. I can't even keep up with everything that's being said, but I'm trying my best. And Anthony Smith said, America is Babylon, the great that Revelation speaks of. Potentially. It's definitely part of the system.
They get part of it, yes.
Yeah, definitely part of the system. I could argue that, potentially Rome would be the mystery Babylon, the mother of all the harlots of the earth, since, all of Western democracy has basically modeled itself after Greece, which Rome, conquered and continued on.
We're at break. We'll be right back for a second hour.
As a bookstore for truth seekers, it's our goal to make ancient manuscripts which were once held captive by secretive institutions available for public consideration. In our generation, where wisdom has increased as Daniel the prophet foretold, we have access to many of the testimonies our early church brethren were persecuted for preserving. After being hidden for centuries, these manuscripts have been leaked from various sources throughout the earth, and it's our goal to gather these sources into printable form to make available for all who seek the ancient way. If you're looking to deepen your studies of the biblical narrative, find these ancient manuscripts and more at sacredwordpublishing.com. Your partnership with Sacred Word Publishing goes further than the publishing of ancient manuscripts and weekly video content.
You also make a huge impact across the earth in orphanages in Myanmar, India, Uganda, and Kenya.
Your support is crucial for the development of the ecclesia of real truth seekers.
We thank you for joining us in hosting Secrets Revealed, Momentary Zen, the Digital Readers Club, Ask Me Anything series, and other shows that have helped lead so many to the truth of salvation.
To become even more involved, please visit patreon.com/sacredwordpublishing, where you can partake in exclusive, interactive, patron-only content and help us continue shining the light of love in this darkened world.
Many truth seekers are constantly studying alone. But there is a place where we can come together. The Digital Readers Club is our online ecclesia meant for those who've forsaken churchianity but still want the closeness of a family to study with. Join us every Saturday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time to put together the puzzle pieces of truth scattered throughout the ancient scriptures.
Hello friends, thank you for joining us this evening. I'm your host, Zen Garcia.
while we take that short break here at Revolution Radio, freedomslips.com. And now we're going to get back to your host.
All right, welcome back, everybody, for a second hour. I'm your host, Zen Garcia. This is Momentary Zen. I'm joined by my son, Justin James Garcia, and we are doing our end of the month Prophecy in the News broadcast. Justin, I'll turn it back over to you.
All right, I will go ahead and move straight into this. So basically, we know that the enemy unites the people, the masses of people, by introducing chaos and by threatening their safety. Right? That's order out of chaos.
Order out of chaos, yes.
Right. And the latest message coming from this, I think it was this week's G20 summit. Actually, I think it was actually a few weeks ago. It was earlier this month. But the message that's coming from that G20 summit should sum it up pretty well. That they're saying that the next pandemic could come at any time. So this is a Singapore senior minister that's talking. And so we see it, the headline is that we have to prepare for the next pandemic. So the idea is that there are countless of unknown threats out there in the world, so we have to prop up the WHO to prepare before it comes. Just like we're in the war on terror. It's an endless war because anyone can be called a terrorist. It's like an endless war because people can continuously, the definition can change and we can go after whoever we want. Just like in China, there was a Hong Kong citizen. If you're not familiar with the protests that have been going on over there, they want democracy, and Hong Kong is protesting, and there was this citizen participating in the protest who rammed into a police barricade, and he was determined by the court there to be a terrorist who wanted to incite an overthrow of the government. So now he's facing life in prison. People in the Middle East who are fighting against an establishment of a puppet government, they are also terrorists. Not saying that there are no bad people in the world, of course. But if you, like I did, read the definition of terrorist, it's someone who wants to strike fear in the population in order to incite change. And now I want you to go ahead and research the history of the Gulf War and the tactics that our military used. It was called shock and awe. And you want to know, what the goal of shock and awe was?
Inside or right?
No, we went over there and we dropped so many bombs to begin the war because we wanted to terrorize the fighters to just giving up. We wanted to instill fear in their hearts so that they wouldn't even fight. So that they would just accept the change that we were going to bring,
Bow down, yeah.
So I just encourage you to think about that definition of terrorism, and, it really just seems a little bit hypocritical. I'm not saying that I think our government is totally bad or that their government is totally good. I'm just thinking out loud over here, But, a good name for what we're being taught to be scared of is the boogeyman. And the boogeyman has so many variants, Yeah.
Yes.
It's something that you'll never see, but you're so certain that he's there, just waiting to pounce at any moment because we're told that he's there,
Right.
But so because of that, because we're being told that, we have to give even more power to already powerful international organizations to protect us, because we can't protect ourselves. But the truth is that those international organizations are the boogeyman.
Right.
You know, remember when C-19 first came about, Mr. Gates was so happy to go on interviews with smiles and express his vision for how the world was going to be a much better place after all of this washes over. And I'm sure many of you saw this interview. He was so smiling. He said that he hoped that there would be more international organizations and support for those institutions, you know, i.e. more power in the hands of the elite. You know, and that's exactly what we see.
World governance.
I don't even think it sounds like a conspiracy anymore. You know, it's just
Yeah, it does.
blatantly
It's all in your
obvious
face.
to anyone
Right.
that doesn't have their head in the sand.
Right.
So let me read a bit for you from the report that the G20 quote-unquote panel of global experts released earlier this month. The quote, "In short, we need a global deal for our pandemic age. We must strengthen global governance and mobilize greater and sustained investments in global public goods, which have been dangerously underfunded." So here we see that we need what the Georgia Guidestones refers to as a world court, you know, global governance. And, you know, we also see that, according to this, that we need all nations to invest into, quote, global public goods. You know, what kind of goods do you think that those are? You know, goods sold by a mom and pop store? Absolutely
Soylent
not.
Green.
You know, we're talking about GMO jabs and GMO food and et cetera, et cetera. You know, these corporations have these politicians in their pockets. You know, they're the ones that write the 5,000-page legislation that gets passed by Congress without ever even being read. You know,
Yeah, I was just telling one of my friends last night about how they are putting aborted fetal tissue into all of the different foods, you know, the multinational food corporations like Nestle, and that it's this Sonomix, which is you know, this natural flavoring or additional flavoring is added even to Aquafina water, you know, and it's in all of these different processed foods. And she was just blown away. She didn't believe me at first. And then I read it, you know, I brought it up and showed it to her, and it was just unbelievable. And, you know, when people find out about these things, it's just so bizarre and so just beyond belief, but yet it's the truth of what we're contending with.
Yeah, I think they say that they use aborted fetal cells in their trials to get their tastes, you know, manufactured properly, but that they don't actually put it in their foods. Who knows the truth behind that? That's just what they
say a lot of things, right?
I mean, I've definitely had Aquafina water. I really pray that that's not the case. But yeah, as I was saying, that there are laws that get passed that have the corporations who wrote the laws' best interest at heart. You know, not us. The average citizen gets what seems like a really great deal, but the expense always outweighs the gain. Like giving up your freedom for security. You know, I suppose that that's just my opinion, though. Some people value their security more than their freedom. But yeah, I'm gonna get you to comment before I go on even further.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we were warned, you know, by even the forefathers that established this country about how people would give up their freedoms to ensure security, and that the New World Order elites would utilize the tactic of order out of chaos in order to bring forth the solution for the problems that they would create, the problem reaction solution, the Hegelian dialectic that they've been utilizing as a modus operandi for a very long time. And again, this is detailed greatly and elaborated in numerous ways in the protocols and also in the secret covenant, which, again, if people are not familiar with that text, it's a must read. You have to familiarize yourself with it. It's absolutely mind-blowing.
Yeah, definitely. All right, so I will continue on, and I am trying to keep up with the live chat. I really appreciate everybody keeping the peace in the chat. Thank you so much. Such a beautiful community that we have here. But yeah, continuing from that report that they put out, quote, "The world faces the clear and present danger of more frequent and more lethal infectious disease outbreaks. The current pandemic was not a black swan event. Indeed, it may ultimately be seen as a dress rehearsal for the next one, which could come at any time in the next decade or even in the next year, and could be even more profoundly damaging to human security." So, if you thought that this last year was a black swan event, and that we'd be going back to normal life soon, maybe this will prompt you to think again. We already know that, as you said earlier, the gain of function research was used to weaponize this cold. And it's without a doubt, in my mind, that it will be used again and again, and as many times as necessary to continue sinking their demonic nails into the wounded skin of democracy. And I have to point out again that here we see in this report the whole evolution deception at play. The idea that things are evolving constantly and mutating. They play on our ignorance to make us believe ridiculous lies.
Right.
Lies that don't even stand up to their own science. These quickly mutating strains, they can't be equated by evolution. You hear millions of years of evolution for all these tiny mutations, but now they're saying it takes months for these mutations to come about. So make sure that you get all your boosters, because they're coming at them. They're coming at you, super, super fast. But don't worry,
Right.
Big Pharma's got your back. They are keeping up with it. Sometimes they even have the jabs 2 years before the variant's ever discovered.
Exactly.
Right. So, and let's make sure that we use taxpayer funds to put more money and power into the pockets of the big pharma corps. How convenient is it that also the education system is a part of this Babylonian empire? We think of media as being the major propaganda outlet, which it obviously is, but most people don't realize that colleges are a huge part of indoctrination as well. A huge part. These are theories that are being taught as fact. As we touched on earlier, these professors are looked at as pastors or preachers, speaking gospel truth.
Right.
And the students, they totally believe it as well. Just like the teachers, they believe full-heartedly in what they're teaching, even though it's just theories. And actually, it's total nonsense.
Right.
If you just use your non-common sense, you'll come to find that it's nonsense.
Yes.
Yeah, there's more to read, but let me go ahead and pass it over to you.
Yeah, I wanted to. I pulled up the Secret Covenant. I just want to share a little bit from it. It says, "We will work together always, and will remain bound by blood and secrecy. We will keep their lifespan short and their minds weak while pretending to do the opposite. We will use our knowledge of science and technology in subtle ways so they will never see what is happening. We will use soft metals, aging accelerators, and sedatives in food and water, also in the air. They will be blanketed by poisons everywhere they turn. The soft metals will cause them to lose their minds, and we will promise to find a cure from our many fronts, yet we will feed them more poison. The poisons will be absorbed through their skin and mouths. They will destroy their minds and reproductive systems. From all this, their children will be born dead, and we will conceal this information. The poisons will be hidden in everything that surrounds them, in what they drink, eat, breathe, and wear. We must be ingenious in dispensing the poisons, for they can see far. We will teach them that the poisons are good, with fun images and musical tones. Those they look up to will help, and we will enlist them to push our poisons. I'll stop right there, but I mean, it goes so much further. And, I just wanted to give those of you that were unaware of the Secret Covenant, it's a must read because it's very factual, and it is what the Illuminati behind the scenes and covert and ulterior motive, what they've been doing all along. And it's why you cannot trust your doctors and the so-called, health professionals, especially in a for-profit institution where they make more money off of cutting your organs out of you while you're still alive and delving them out and selling them to other hospitals, to those that are on the organ waiting list, which is a whole nother thing that we've covered in our shows as well.
Yeah, definitely, and I'm going to be reading more from that very shortly. I wanted to point out Hebrew Hawaiian says, former college professor here, and the academics have a God complex. I hated that. Yeah, that's the thing, right? There's so much pride being taught in indoctrination. They're like, I'm so well indoctrinated. I was indoctrinated for 8 years. I've got a master's degree, like that doesn't really even mean anything, that you went to school and you sat there and you basically proved that you can be obedient and that you have the patience to sit in a jail cell and be talked at for an hour or 8 hours at a time per day.
And brainwashed
Right.
for years and years.
You don't think for yourself, Of course, there are some great teachers out there. Not hating on teachers. Definitely had some awesome teachers in my time. But I'm just saying that school in general is so outdated, and I feel like on-the-job training, is so amazing. When you actually go out with a farmer, get your hands dirty with them, like you're really learning, Or as an aircraft mechanic, I didn't go to school. I mean, I did 9 weeks of fundamental training, but I learned how to fix airplanes. I learned hydraulic systems by getting out there with people that knew what they were doing and, putting my hands on the system and visualizing what was really going on, not sitting in a classroom. Something that's really popular that I hear from the younger generation is this quote that God is dead and we have killed him. People respond all the time like that when I share the gospel. They're like, God is dead and we've killed him. Science has proven that there is no creator. And I'm just thinking that's what's taught as gospel in the schools, because evolution, even though it is a theory that has been completely proven inaccurate, despite the billions and billions of dollars that go annually to trying to prove it correct, even though it's been proven false and there's never been any true evidence to come about that supports it, it's still taught as absolute gospel in the universities.
Yeah, scientism.
It's a religion, yeah, scientism. It's all a theory that's being propped up as a postulate, as an absolute truth. But it's, anyways, I digress. Anything you want to say before I move on?
Yeah, as far as scientism, the whole thing of evolution and that we evolved of monkeys, and the addition of the ancient aliens theory that they seeded us here long ago and that they're returning to save us from ourselves. This is the scientism that they have created doubt as to intelligent design, and that there's a creator behind the conception, imagination, and manifestation of the creation, and even of humanity being made in the image of the creator. Male and female created he them. And so having created that doubt, they have also teaching evolution as gospel in the schools, and having the education system as the indoctrination, the brainwashing, the foundation of the matrix. They have pretty much swept away people's understanding and faith in the inerrancy of not only the Bible but belief in a creator. And so that's why you have to really come to understand scientism, biblical cosmology, and how it as truth will restore your faith.
Yeah, definitely. Lisa made a really good point too, that we're actually paying people to indoctrinate our children,
Right.
And at some point people are becoming slaves to their education expenses too. When interest from college, from student debt piles up,
Yeah.
Like, that's why oftentimes you see doctors driving like really shaggy cars when you think they should be making a lot of money, right? But they're like literally in over their heads in debt, just trying to pay the interest off on their loans.
Right.
It is a slavery system. It is a system designed to enslave, and that whole credit system is dangerous as well. But that's a different story. I'm going to continue on reading from that report from the G20 summit earlier this month. So I quote, "Acting and investing collectively for pandemic security together with climate change represents the primary international challenge of our times." Now listen to this next line very closely. "Failure to establish the basis for international cooperation will make it almost impossible to address these existential challenges." All right, so here that they use a double negative in that last sentence, but I'll balance that equation for you. It says, if we don't have a one world government, we will face almost certain extinction. That's basically what they're saying here. We got to join together. But notice how they put another lie in here of climate change. My mom's family has been going to the same beach my entire life, and the sea levels have not risen. Science is subject to observation. So, encourage your friends and family when you visit the beaches or experience cold fronts, to question global warming. Where did this concept come from? Who's profiting from it? How is it shaping our society? Remember I told everyone, I shared this testimony probably half a year or more ago, and I sat down with a Harvard graduate, and he told me his thoughts on what the future needs. And he's convinced, if you don't remember, if you're joining in, you don't remember, he's convinced that the world needs a king needs a king, a ruler that has a strong hand over a world government, so that all the existential crises spoken of will be dealt with. Without that ruler, he says, all the paperwork and political banter is just going to lead us to extinction. They say, for the planet and for the people. Remember I said college is indoctrination. And he's a Harvard graduate, Ivy League, like supposed to be really good stuff. Really
indoctrinated very well.
Yeah, right. Paid really good money for that indoctrination. But what he's convinced needs to happen is actually what the protocols of the learned elders of Zion says they would teach people to believe.
Exactly. Yes.
So all right, I'm going to read from Protocol 10. I forget exactly what the title of the protocol was, but this is from verse 18. The recognition of our despot may also come before the destruction of the Constitution. The moment for this recognition will come when the peoples, utterly wearied by the irregularities and incompetence, a matter which we shall arrange for, of their rulers, will clamor, away with them, and give us one king over all the earth, who will unite us and annihilate the causes of disorders, frontiers, nationalities, religions, state debts, who will give us peace and quiet which we cannot find under our rulers and representatives. And
how nice of them.
Right, it goes on in verse 19. But you yourselves know perfectly well that to produce the possibility of the expression of such wishes by all the nations, it is indispensable to trouble in all countries the people's relations with their governments, so as to utterly exhaust humanity with dissension, hatred, struggle, envy, and even by the use of torture, by starvation, by the inoculation of disease, by want, so that the Goyim see no other course open to them than to take refuge in our complete sovereignty in money and in all else. So to sum this up, the Masons want to destroy all the constitutions, and they're preparing for a despot king who will rule over all the earth, who will unite everyone and give peace. And the method of giving peace is described here as by
That's terrible. Well, we've been trying to be careful and to walk on eggshells, but it's hard to not speak truth and to stand for the Most High and the kingdom, and so it's unfortunate. It is what it is. We hope that we can continue in platform to share the truth and bring it forth to all of you, but certainly, not only do the scriptures say my people are killed for lack of truth, but it's the time that there would be a thirst and there would be a hunger for truth, because it would be eradicated and disappeared, covered up, and that's what's going on in the world. And this show was, I guess, too close to that. We are covering.
I got good news. We are connected again. Hallelujah.
Yeah, praise God.
Yes.
Thank the Lord. But certainly, again, we are always gonna stand for the kingdom, no matter what, and we're gonna do the work of the Most High in trying to bring truth and discernment to all of you. And so, but again, it is unfortunate. We do ask all of you to pray for us, and that we continue to be able to utilize YouTube and the other places that we do, because we do have a large fellowship and a large following, and and when we do the live streams, many of you do join us in fellowship, and that's a great blessing. And so, yes, please pray that we be able to continue the work in this manner and to be able to gather with all of you in this manner. We do consider you extended family, and that, we are all members of the body of Christ, and that, we're all hoping to be counted and numbered with the elect, and God willing, we'll join together in reunion at some point. And that's the plan.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that is the goal for sure. But
Yes.
for those joining in the YouTube live stream, I wanted to make this one point that we got cut off from earlier. If you did not catch that quote from Protocol 10, verse 19, it literally says that the jab would be a tool for the Masonic takeover. And these are tools that they believe are going to make us have no choice but to rely on them. So
Right.
it's called a tool here, and this is what, like over 100 years old is the earliest manuscript that we have, right, of this
Right.
text.
Yeah.
So,
This goes back to the 1800s.
It's been in plan for a long time. So yeah, hallelujah. I'm so glad that we were able to get connected. I'm not sure what the issue was, but I'm so glad that we are live again. That's such a blessing. I was I was already in my mind thinking, all right, I guess we're gonna have to move on to a new platform, huh?
Yes. And we should already be preparing for that, because you never know. But we should take precautions and make sure to back up everything. And Rob was telling me about some software that does that, where it downloads everything from your playlist and channel. So I'll have to ask him about that again, and we need to be sure to do that.
Yep. Well, I do want to share our channel with everyone who has not joined our BitChute. It is not updated all the time, not very much at all actually, but that is where we would migrate to immediately if things were shut down. And also our Discord server is up still, so please, if you haven't joined our Discord server, I will share a link to that as well. You can find the link at sacredwordpublishing.com. Just click on the SWP class tab and there's an invite link there. I will share it in the Discord server or in the YouTube live chat as well. Our Discord server is open 24/7, and there are always really great topics being discussed there. We'd love to have you join us. But yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and just move into the last point that I have for this discussion on that report that came out from the G20 summit. So
sounds good.
As we said, this scenario that was mentioned seems like it's progressing literally every day. So here we see in Protocol 3, which is called the Motives of Conquest, it states in verse 10, the Goyim, who are the nations other than the Zionists, the Goyim have lost the habit of thinking, unless prompted by the suggestions of our specialists. We were talking about this before. Therefore, they do not see the urgent necessity of what we, when our kingdom comes, shall adopt at once, namely this, that it is essential to teach in national schools one simple, true piece of knowledge, the basis of all knowledge, the knowledge of the structure of human life, of social existence, which requires division of labor and consequently the division of men into classes and conditions. So I'm going to stop there, but it goes on to say, that the government is going to assign people their classes, and that people will submit and accept whatever the class they get assigned to. Right? So, yeah, we'll let that one speak for itself. And then I'm just going to make one more point from the last paragraph of the introduction to the G20 report. It says, finally, we extend our appreciation to the G20 under its Italian presidency for leadership in convening this important review. So anyone familiar with geography knows that Italy is the location of the capital of ancient Rome. You know, and now I'll be quiet for a little bit and go ahead and pass the mic over to you.
Yeah, there was as far as Mystery Babylon, and I really believe that Mystery Babylon is a system more than just one nation. Even though, yes, I do believe that America fits in as part of that. The the military arm of Mystery Babylon, and that Rome and the Catholic Church is the religious aspect of that, and that London is the financial branch for Mystery Babylon, and that Jerusalem is also the headquarters of what will be the seat of world government, that it's already being groomed to be moved and relocated there. We also see that in prophecy with regard to the prophecy of the 112 popes by Saint Malachi, that dates back to the 11th or 12th century. I don't exactly remember, but it's a very old prophecy that it is cited that the city of Seven Hills, which is said to also be Rome in association in some manner, that it will be destroyed, and that the prophecy of the 112th Pope is current right now, and that Petrus Romanus, um, the Saint Francis, or Francis, the current Pope, that he is Petrus Romanus, and then the details of what is said to occur when this Pope comes to reign is that the Rome will be destroyed. And I believe this to be also a biblical prophecy, if I recall correctly, but certainly it is mentioned in other places as well. And so again, we see that the conspiratorial aligns with the prophetic, the biblical, and that what has been, disjointed and misconstrued for so very long, the underlying truth of how Scripture aligns with current events and with the weirdness of the esoteric, and the mystery school, the mystery religions, the occultism of Mystery Babylon, and all of that is coming to light. And, Spirit being poured out on all flesh, we are being led to discernment so that we can understand the times and recognize the season. Because it says of, the disciples of Christ that we are the children of day, and that, the night and the thief will not come in a manner that we are caught off guard. We are to recognize and to see and to be forewarned. And not only that, but we are to sound the trumpet, to blow the shofar warning, and to also make others aware, so that they can also see and recognize where they are and where we are collectively in the timeline of biblical fulfillment.
Yeah, regarding the point that was spoken about earlier, there was some discussion on, who Rome was, according to the Babylonian system, and just giving a little bit of background of why I kind of think that Rome could be that point of the Mystery Babylon, the head, who is the mother of all harlots. Somebody made a really good point in the chat. John Sparks said that's it, the trilogy of terror: Rome, London, and Israel. Who, we know who Israel is, the synagogue of Satan. Hopefully I don't get shut down for saying that. But all right, so the point that I'm making is I don't believe that it's just America that could be Babylon. Yes, America has gotten its hands in so many countries around the world, but that's not a new thing. If we look back and we see in history, from Rome, you have the split into the Western Empire of Rome, which was ruled by the Vatican, and then the East Empire of Rome became the Byzantine Empire, which became the Ottoman Empire, but mostly it gave birth to Orthodoxy, which spread eastward, and then the Catholicism, which spread westward. And in the West, you see what happened in the UK and in Portugal and in Spain and in France. They basically conquered that whole area, the whole Western Hemisphere. We don't even know the history of what really happened to the Indian people. What they call Indians, the Native Americans in South America and in North America. So I'm getting an error that says YouTube isn't receiving enough video. Again, if you are still hearing this, please let us know that you can hear it. I don't see a problem from my OBS side, so prayerfully it's no big deal. But yeah, the point that I'm making is that it kind of, for me, it roots all the way back to the city that Cain established. The cities that the fallen angels established when they descended and mated with the daughters of man. When we have the polytheistic religions, we go back to ancient Sumer. And this whole concept of government, governing the people, of having authority over people, having a person that has authority over people. Of course, God has authority over all things, but just a man like you or me, or a woman having authority over people, started with the fallen angels, and they set up their progeny to be the rulers over the kingdoms of the earth. So in Sumer, we see, the first slave system, the first economic system, and the same
caste system as well,
right? The caste and the taxing, and this was adopted by Egypt. And you see the same history, the same theology even of the polytheism, the fallen angel worship. And then, of course, Egypt, being conquered eventually through Persia and Babylon. And we keep going on through history until we see this whole system being utilized in the West, and what we even have today, was adopted by Rome, and then, or by Greece, and then Rome, and then of course from Rome it spread westward, and it kind of took on this disguise in Catholicism as being, a godly world, a way of living in the world, like a godly government even. And then it came to the West, and people still are today, convinced that we're in New Jerusalem now because we're in America, and we're we are in God's chosen land now. But some people look at what really is the chosen land in Israel, and what's been established there is just the furthest descendant of Babylon, or of Sumer, after World War II, and the Ottoman Empire was overthrown before this, of course, but then it took a while for the actual nation state of Israel to be established at the end of World War II in 1948. And now this is the newest child, the newest daughter of Babylon and that whole world system. that government system. And I feel like, in the background, it's the same people that have been ushering in the changes in these nations and growing and establishing, furthering their wealth and their control and their power over the corporations and over the governments of the world since, the time of Sumer. It's these same people that what many people call the Freemasons. Of course, they have their roots back in building pyramids, and they even worship basically the Temple of Solomon, as we're told that in Joshua, I think it was chapter 6 or 9, that Joshua made a covenant with some of the descendants of the Nephilim and of Canaan. And of course, as we were doing the study in the Digital Readers Club last Saturday, Canaan, or Ham, was the descendant of Cain.
Right.
So they preserve this bloodline who eventually made their way into the temple service and helped, helped in the temple until eventually they moved up the ranks like they do in every organization that's put together, whether it's meant for good or meant for evil. They can ascend the organizations, and they did, and they established a lot of divisions amongst believers, and in dividing, they conquer.
Yes.
Whether it was Pharisee or Sadducee, it doesn't really matter. There were good Pharisees and good Sadducees, and also evil Pharisees and evil Sadducees. But the point is that they are able to get in and control anything that they divide, and they have done so. And now what is established in that chosen land today is not the chosen people. You are the chosen people. You who confess faith in the Messiah. You who have accepted that order of the ancients that was passed down, the prophecies that were passed down that kept the testimony of the Messiah, of his salvation that he would bring to the earth. You have been grafted into the order of the ancients through faith in the sacrifice and resurrection of our Creator, in the Messiah. And how awesome is that? I was thinking, I really believe that order of Melchizedek, that order of the ancients, I feel like Isaiah was part of that. Like the prophets were probably part of this. Definitely, I think that King David was a part of this order of the ancients, and that's why they knew. They wrote secretively things that they knew very well about. Like David gave a perfect prophecy of the crucifixion, and in Psalm 22. Isaiah talks about the virgin birth, talks about the birth of the Creator, the Son that would be called the everlasting Father and the mighty God. He talks about the betrayal by his own people. Like the prophecies that were kept in the book of the Order of the Ancients that Enoch passed down and that Elijah gave to Elisha. I feel like Isaiah and the prophets, that they had access to these things, but even as we're reading it now, as the secrets have been revealed, it says that the people that were in the order of the ancients, that they kept the things that they knew secret. Like that wasn't a text that was allowed for everyone to receive. But we were given little seeds, Israel was given little seeds so that those who really seek the truth, like even in this day, if people really want to know the truth, they will seek it and they will find the little seeds that are left. They'll find the breadcrumb trails. They'll put together the big picture. And I think that it's amazing that we have a community here that is doing that. How amazing is that? So it's
Seekers
my
of
honor
lost
to
paradise.
just join with you all and to fellowship and to worship with you all. It's really an amazing and beautiful community. I know we're coming to the end of the show. I think it was an awesome time, and I really appreciate everyone sticking it out patiently with us as we did go through that momentary glimpse of not being able to connect. But yeah.
Yes, we are down to the end, and again, we appreciate everybody. We consider it a great honor and privilege to share the things that we've come to know, and being able to publish all of these ancient manuscripts, the Book of the Order of the Ancients, the Illuminati Secret Covenant and Protocols. All these things you can find at sacredwordpublishing.com, along with hundreds of other titles of ancient manuscripts, the Great Commission, especially the Great Commission 3, which is on the end time apocalypses and has more about the fig tree generation than any other manuscript put out. God bless all. Good night.
Shalom. Thank you for having me. Much love to everyone.
My great honor.
Love you. Good night.
Thank you everybody for joining us for this video and this broadcast. We appreciate all of you and thank you for your patronage. Please do like and subscribe and share with your friends. God bless all of you in your seeking.